£1 million Jerwood Dance House, cultural hub of a regenerated waterfront. And it's certainly impressive. This, one of 3 state-of-the-art dance studios. And what about this? A 200-seater theatre. It's home to dozens of classes from tots to the over 60s. Its £600,000 grant cut by just £3,000 so far, but everyone knows there's worse to come.
It is scary. We're having to do emergency budgets and planning, which I really don't want to have to do. And it might mean staff cuts. It will definitely mean cuts to the artistic program. And that's really sad. When we've just opened this building, we're just showing everyone what we can do, what the possibilities are. And to cut us off before we've even had that opportunity would be really sad.
Hertfordshire-based Theatre Is brings its latest production to Northampton tonight. Working with young people across the region, it fears a big cut in its £180,000 Arts Council grant.
We know that the level of cut is going to be deep. We have some idea, unofficially, that it'll be probably between 20 and 50%. I mean, if we have a 50% cut, it's very difficult to know whether we're going to continue.
We don't know what's going to happen next, is the honest answer. But obviously everyone in public sector is preparing for further cuts to come in the next 2 to 3 years. And we are trying to prepare our arts organisations and our companies and artists for tighter times into the future, yes.
A hangar where they used to test jet engines is home to the latest production from Eastern Angles Theatre Company. Bentwater Roads opens a week today.
You're dreaming.
But you would come?
Down the years, the company's taken over 100 productions to scores of towns and villages.
We started up in 1982. There's a whole host of other companies also starting up at that same time. And similarly, that was at a time of recession and cutbacks and what people thought was a gloomy time. But actually, there can be quite positive times as well.
I must go.
Just 0.1% of government spending goes to support the arts. Back in Ipswich, the developments around the dance house have ground to a halt, a symbol of tough economic times ahead. Kim Riley, BBC Look East.
Apologies, I've heard we've had some problems with the pictures earlier on. Hopefully that's all sorted out. I'm joined now by Chris Gribble from the team behind Norwich's bid and Peter Wilson, who's the Chief Executive of the Norwich Theatre Royal. Chris Gribble, first of all, is this the right time to be spending money on arts and culture? I mean, is the bid costing a lot of money?
The bid didn't cost a lot of money. Unlike many of the other cities that bid, we didn't use a huge number of consultants. It was driven from the city and the partnerships here. And effectively, what we're looking to do is to bring together the existing organisations in the city to work more effectively, more economically, to really increase the impact of what we do to earn more money for the region.
We've heard this figure of £200 million. How does that work out? That's just people coming in to the region?
It's a range of kind of economic impacts, from tourism through to the spend in the region, through to travel, through to advertising, marketing, a whole range of benefits that we kind of quite well secure that will be accrue to the bid. And
if it doesn't win, if Norwich doesn't win, what will happen? Will you just abandon the whole thing, or will some of it go ahead anyway?
Absolutely not. There's no loss here. Basically, it's a win-win for us. What we've done is put together a team, a consortium, and a set of ways of working that will be of huge benefit for us, that will help us cope with some of the hard times ahead.
Peter Wilson, you run the Theatre Royal in Norwich, which draws people into the city from a long way away in the region. How important do you think it would be to Norwich to win this?
Well, I think it's enormously important. It's not really about money, Susie. It's about the story of Norwich. Norwich has many years punched below its weight. This is our chance to show the world and the nation that Norwich really is a city of culture and can punch way, way above its weight. And the team that Chris and Jonathan Holloway have put together is, I think, an outstanding team, and will be able to tell the story of Norwich to the rest of the world in the right order.
And how worried are you generally about the state of the arts and the cuts we keep hearing about?
Well, I think, like the BBC, we play the hand we're dealt. Whatever money there is, we will make it go a long, long way. It's what the arts have traditionally always done. And it's not about having enormous amounts of money. It's about having enough money to do what you want and adjusting your ambitions to make quite certain you can actually achieve them.
Chris Gribble, in a word, are you optimistic?
Very much so. We're already a city of culture.
Great, thank you very much. Well, later in the programme, we'll take a look round the other 3 cities who also want to be the UK's first city of culture. And we'll be joined live by the performance poet John Hegley, who's performing in Norwich tonight, and the writer Rafaela Barker. That's after more news from your part of the region.
MPs and business leaders say they're concerned about future investment in the region following a decision to exclude the East from a new tax break. Just a week after it was announced that improvements to the A14 are being suspended, new businesses here are being told they won't benefit from a reduction in national insurance contributions.
On an industrial estate in Peterborough is a place where small businesses are born. There are 38 different companies here, among them a sign-writing business, a computer repair shop, a firm that sells books on the internet.
In the East, we have tremendous success in terms of business development and start-ups, and what we don't believe is right, that businesses here should not have the same opportunity as businesses elsewhere.
What's worried the business community is a decision in this week's budget to give a tax break to new businesses that employ less than 10 people. The Chancellor believes small enterprises will play a key role in getting us out of recession. It's a small tax break available everywhere except in an area called the Greater South East. And the Greater South East includes this region. Why? Because the government feels that, like the South East, this region is already successful enough and doesn't need any more help.
The East of England is one of only 3 regions that puts more money in the tax box than takes it out. And what we want to do is encourage the rest of the country to be like that. So get more private sector jobs in the north of England.
But some fear that this could be the start of a trend. Only last week, the much-needed widening of the A14 was halted.
Will this area always be excluded from tax breaks and that sort of similar situation? And what does it do to people's spirit and thought about actually taking up, self-employment in the future?
Several MPs share his concern. The MPs for Peterborough and Harlow have already written to the Chancellor, pointing out that there are areas in the East that aren't prosperous and still need help. After several weeks of cuts, the region's business community is looking for some encouragement. Andrew Sinclair, BBC Look East, Peterborough.
2 men have been arrested after a police chase through Norwich this afternoon. The force helicopter had been tracking a car across the city. Armed officers surrounded it in Dereham Road, and witnesses say they shot the tyres out. The police say they were arrested on suspicion of a serious offence. Police are still questioning a man after a husband and wife were both shot in a Norfolk village. The couple suffered shotgun wounds. The man is in a stable condition, but his wife has been released from hospital. Fishermen on Mersey Island in Essex say tough new quotas mean there's no longer any point in going out to sea. The amount of Dover sole they're allowed to catch each month has been halved, and there's a total ban on catching skate. The fishermen say the island's main industry, which stretches back generations, is at risk.
This is where you'll find most of what's left of the West Mersey fleet, tied up. The fishermen told me quota cuts mean there's simply no point setting sail anymore.
The skate we're not allowed to catch no more. That's been cut to nothing, and that is another one of our major